everybody, welcome back to this YouTube channel that discusses all things related to Social Security disability and how to win your Social Security disability case. So today I'm going to be discussing how you actually file an application for Social Security disability benefits, how to get the ball rolling. So the first thing that you'll want to do is go to ssa.gov, and I'll put this down in the comments, but it's ssa.gov/disability. And that will take you to a page where you can actually just go ahead and file online for disability benefits. That's how you submit your initial application. So you just go to that page, you click the link, it's really easy, and then you'll just go through the guided application process. It's pretty straightforward. Some of the things that you'll need in order to successfully file an application are things like, of course, your Social Security number, your name, your date of birth, your address, your phone number, and note that you have to have a physical mailing address. Typically, they don't accept a P.O. box unless something has changed since I last looked at that. For every dependent child under the age of 18 that you care for, you will also need their name, Social Security number, date of birth, that information. They collect this information for a few different reasons. One is to verify your identity, and two is if you do have dependent children under the age of 18 and you are awarded later down the road for disability benefits, your monthly payment would actually increase based off of having those dependent children. So it's really important that you include them. Also, you will need, if you are currently married, or well, if you are currently married, you will want to also include your spouse's information. So their name, their date of birth, their Social Security number. You'll also need what city and state you were married in, what date you were married in, that type of thing. Also on that note, if you have had any prior marriages that lasted longer than 10 years where the marriage ended in a divorce, and if you have your ex's Social Security number and date of birth and all that information, it will be worth your trouble to go ahead and put that into the application. Most people will just kind of blow through that, but you can actually claim a portion of your ex's Social Security benefits if it would be a higher amount than what your benefits would be. So it is rather important that you include your ex's information in the application if you have it, because it could certainly benefit you later. So anyway, moving along, once you get past kind of the identifying information on the online application, you will also get to a part where you'll have to enter in some information about your education and any past vocational training that you've had. So that would include something like a welder certificate or a massage therapy license, something of that nature. They'll also want to know your high school information. You know, did you graduate from high school? Were you in special education classes? Did you go on to do any college courses? You know, that sort of thing. So you'll want to just make sure you enter in all that information incorrectly. And then after that, it will ask you some question about your work history. So basically what you will need in order to successfully file the application is a work history for the last 15 years. And I know that's kind of a long time, but they will require that. So you really want to try to go back and make sure that you have that accurately so you can put that on your application. If you can't remember the dates exactly, you'll just want to use your best guess, but try to get it as accurately as possible. And then also you only want to include, like I said, jobs that you've done in the last 15 years, but also only jobs that you've done on a full-time basis that lasted longer than 5 months. Because if they didn't last longer than 5 months, you weren't at that job long enough to learn those skills. And that's what Social Security is trying to do by asking you this information, is to determine what your skills are so they can see what jobs you might be viable for. And they do that for the vocational training as well, you know, the welder certificate or massage therapy license example. For each job, they will ask you the job title, the job duties. They'll ask you questions about the exertional demands. So there will be a question that says something like, what's the heaviest amount of weight you had to lift? You know, did you have to bend? Did you have to stoop? Did you have to kneel? You know, what position physically were you in all day? Were you sitting all day? Were you standing all day? Were you walking? Were you climbing up poles? You know, I mean, you know, as for like an electrician, you know, you just want to explain that on that form, and there will be some places to do it there. One bit of advice I will just give people when they're doing the questions about weight, and this is very important. Some people tend to put too much weight, they lifted too much weight, and other people tend to put that they didn't lift enough weight. So You know, obviously, if you were doing a desk job for the last 15 years and you put on there that you lifted more than 100 pounds, well, nobody's going to believe that. And that's going to make you non-credible. Conversely, and I use the example to explain this as a semi-truck driver. You know, a lot of semi-truck drivers don't have to unload what's in their truck. You know, onload, offload what's in their truck, and so they say, well, I never had to lift more than 10 pounds. But here's the thing: the hood of a semi-truck weighs more than 50 pounds, and so there's really no way that you can even do that job without being able to lift 50 pounds. So if you put 10 pounds on there, that's just going to hurt you. So, I mean, it's kind of complicated to explain, but just make sure that those amounts of weight are accurate, and then they kind of make sense. Those are really important. So moving on, you'll also need your information about your medical treatment. So typically, and this is a Social Security rule, this isn't a Maya rule, but you can't claim Social Security benefits for any month that you were working full-time. So if you were working full-time up until January of last year, the earliest medical evidence they're going to look at is January, because before that you were working full-time. So it doesn't matter what your medical records say because you're working full-time. So, you know, you really want to only list what's happened since then. You can, I mean, you can put everything else on there, but you'll end up putting a lot more time into it, and Social Security is not really going to look at it anyway. So, but you want to make sure you include every doctor you've seen, every hospital you've seen, medical centers, urgent cares, chiropractors, physical therapists, social workers, counselors, psychologists, psychiatrists. Do not forget to put the mental health treatment in if you have had that. That's extremely important. You know, you just want to list everybody that you've seen since you stopped working. You know, you never know when there will be a sentence in one little medical record somewhere that will be the difference between winning and losing your case. So it's just really important to get all of that in there. You'll need their name, their address, their phone number, the approximate dates you were treated, what you were treated for, what treatment you received. You know, were you getting medication management? Were you having evaluations? Did you get a surgery? You know, that type of thing. So, you know, you want to make sure that that's fairly accurate. I know people have a hard time kind of remembering dates, and so that's hard for people to remember, but just do the best you can and try to get as close as you can. So the other thing I would just want to say, once you finish the application and you hit submit, it will send it automatically to your local Social Security office for further processing. Very, very important. They will not tell you this. This is you know, it's very hard to know this unless you're told. After you file your application, the very next day, you need to call your local Social Security office and make sure that it's there. First of all, they lose things all the time. And then the other thing you need to do is tell them you need to set up an SSI phone appointment. Very important. It's kind of hard to explain why you need to do this, but basically, long story short, if you don't do this and you're awarded later, you're going to miss out on a lot of money, and they're not going to tell you to do this. So schedule the SSI phone appointment, complete that appointment. It will include questions like, how much money do you have in a bank account? How many vehicles do you have? You know, very straightforward questions, but you need to get that in. Because it just means that you'll get more money if you are awarded later. And then what I would also do, after you call, the day after you file the application, I would call 2 weeks later and make sure that your local Social Security office has sent the case over for medical review. Sometimes things get lost in the cracks. I mean, sometimes, a lot of times. Government employees, you know how they are. They're not gonna watch your case like you would watch it. So just make sure that they do their job, make sure you follow up, and once it's transferred to medical review, then there's going to be some additional things you want to do, which is what our next video is going to be about. So if you like this video and you want to get more content, go ahead and like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.